this focus group is about improving the underlying data, and what we said in the initial presentation was really about it's a matter of garbage in and garbage out, and we need to find better ways to get better quality data in the system. So I suppose just to start with, it might be useful to outline what actual sources of routine data we might be talking about for use within this system. So does anyone want to have some ideas about what sort of data we might be talking about?
Yeah. I think though, before we get to the data, for me there's always been something about, and in a previous role I was one of the first CCIOs within a sort of functioning trust. And it was really about the care pathway. I think you were describing that in a way. Getting the care pathway right, and then within mental health, having outcomes that are meaningful. Yeah. So having that discussion around what that care pathway is, and what the outcomes are before you go anywhere near electronic health record. And then having the infrastructure around it, the data warehouse, whatever it is to pull in data, not just from the electronic health record, but from other sources as well, whether it's path labs, whether it's safeguarding systems for incidents as well, to then produce information in a meaningful way. So there's something about when you start at the beginning is what's the data for and who's the audience as well. Because is this for patients, is it for clinicians, or is it for organisations?
That makes a lot of sense, I suppose, to put some real world structure on where it comes from. So can you fit that on a post-it note?
Probably, I can draw it. I don't know if I can fit it on a post-it note.
If you want to flip that over, you can draw. I suppose that makes some sense in terms of
it does when you're looking at a single condition, but the beauty of what we're talking about is that it allows for comorbidities, isn't it? And so it isn't just a single care pathway anyway, is it? What people will be interested in is how all these different things interact, different conditions, different treatments. So there'll be multiple care pathways for an individual. And so you might sort of be able to specify them all in advance.
What do you exactly mean when you say improving the underlying data? What kind of improvements are you doing?
I think what I would suggest is let's not be data centric.
And that's the.
And I think we're making that assumption. Not doing this. That is a problem because it's more than just data. I think what you're talking about here is improving the quality of routine clinical data to make it usable for better decision making or for research purposes. But actually it goes up a level beyond that, and that we have broadly pieces of information in the system. So there are pieces of clinical information, and they can either be products of routine healthcare, could be bits of research information, there could be things that come from consumers or the public themselves, and there are also artifacts of knowledge. So what is evidence, what should we do, and the kind of pathways linking evidence into care pathways. And quality healthcare is interaction between those different artifacts of knowledge, data, and information. So actually, if we're talking about improving quality, it's about improving the quality of all those artifacts in the system, rather than just a specific one that happens to be in clinical healthcare. That's my slightly wider view.
So that would make a lot of sense. So I suppose then, what can we do to kind of move towards that model of how we manage the data in the system, manage the knowledge in the system, manage all of these concepts?
Well, whatever we say, it has to start with the word standards. Otherwise it's false.
My own story is, and this is, I think, significantly limited. compared to the scope you just described, but nonetheless. My own story is I started working in healthcare IT in companies where we used to provide complete hospital information systems, just like so. And what was really scary about those systems was that even in our own products, we weren't able to stitch, just the same set of data from 10 years ago, because we had customers that's been using the system, has been using the system for 15 years. Just millions of records. And if you ask them, they're absolutely very happy about the amount of data they're sitting on. And I used to call them data leprechauns, because they would just stash it somewhere and not think about what to do with it. And I attempted to do some sort of predictive modeling. I said, look, if we have all this data, we should be able to do some sort of extremely simple stuff at least, because we've got a lot of data. And what of course I found out was that it was almost impossible within the same system, because the system was evolving as time goes by and new fields were added, and just everyone was hacking it as they go along, just to add that extra feature that someone wants. It became a tangled mess that we couldn't even improve. And then came the problem of us having about 40 hospitals and solving the problem in point A, and then not being able to do it again without doing it from scratch in point B. So all of that led to me just working really hard on it, and the solution was that, including the partners, just researchers from hospitals. So I ended up with the idea that you have to subscribe to a computable health representation as standard, and then everybody works on that. And that led to my PhD at UCL, which is about, which is basically brutally torturing a particular standard, OpenAir, with the goal of an intelligent system, but not for delivering a particular system, but for analyzing where the standard breaks down if you try to do all these things on it. And it's holding up well. It's doing a lot better than the alternatives, but the point remains, that absolutely valid for me is that without a computable representation of healthcare data expressed as a detailed standard, we were definitely unable to do anything. Big data, small data, open source, closed source, doesn't matter. It just won't work. And the flexibility of that standard is extremely important in integrating a larger scope than the small, just data scope us techies or researchers can see. So it should have that expressive power to compute as many things as possible, so that you can improve all aspects by subscribing to a computable form. So standards is the starting point, and I think the collective failure to not to look at that as the starting point has cost a lot of taxpayers' money and a lot of efforts.
I think there are problems beyond that. In mental health, I think we face particular problems. We don't, if we've had that system, we still don't know what we want to collect. We're not sure what the information is we want to have. Well, it isn't. It isn't fine. I think it's a hardship. We don't have validated reliable biomarkers. It's psychosocial information about people's lives, and we're at the challenge about what should we capture from people. And we face a tension, which you alluded to inside, about the generic versus the specific. How much information can I capture that's transferable between teams, which is going to be fairly non-specific. But what will that tell us? So I think the problem for us is we don't know what we want to capture with that. So with healthcare or information, we have the system.
But if we're moving towards a system that we might not be classed as psychiatrists in 10 years' time, it might be a very different role as a doctor. There's still something about standards and having clinical standards, particularly when you've got people with multi-morbidity. So I'm just thinking, if we want to link data sets, if we don't call our medication screen, I don't know, current medication, and someone in general practice calls it, the medication screen at this instance, or whatever the semantics are called, if we don't have standards for certain things, then we can't develop the information standards for that, or the technical standards. So I agree, I think there's something about having clinical, technical information standards to make something clinically useful, but also digitally, I think, usable.
I would say that every single standards effort I've been involved in falls into the trap of focusing on what as the focus of standard and not how.
Yes.
And what I say to clinicians in a room is they immediately get into a discussion about what should be the scope of data, what should be collect, and the argument goes on for 4 hours. And then I say, look, I cannot solve that problem for you, but my offer would be that I can give you something that would let you change your minds as many times as you want, but still be able to move without having to break down and rebuild everything. Because every time you make a decision, you will every project spends 80% of the time with the data pipelines, cleaning data, transforming data, collecting data, and somebody introduces another data item, and poof, there you go again, all the way to the back. So the standards of how undermine, create the platform for the standards of what, but you need to have that in place, or else every time you change your mind, your budget, your implementation, all of that goes on.
So, remind me of your name again? I forgot.
Sheriff.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, fundamentally right. So it's probably the most sensible 5 minutes of discussion around electronic network projects I've ever heard, and it's absolutely right. Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, it's just...
So I've tried to capture that very simply as we focus too much on what to collect, not maybe on how we collect it.
or how we process, how we compute it.
Yeah. So it all comes down to standards for flexible representation of
Exactly.
detailed clinical models, and how those are built, extended, and
Yeah.
built.
So currently, from what you're saying, we don't have this. We have, as you described it, the tangled mess. We have. Can we sort of define exactly where we are now with it,
Okay. Well,
and then we can look at where we can
it's
go.
going to vary. I mean, we're in the throes of working with a whole bunch of electronic health record members through Transform, we've struggled with exactly this problem for almost 5 years now, and we have a solution for it, which I will talk about briefly in the presentation. But in a very high level essence, it is to say, if you're interested in a learning health system, there are two fundamental models of human which you're interested in: the clinical use and the research use of that information concept. And by explicitly linking those two together against the reference model or ontology for those two domains, and using an archetype to constrain one against the other, you can create dual function-based elements. And which, if you use a standards approach for defining that data based on an archetype, which ISO 13606 OpenEHR is the template for doing those, you can then start to maintain within your system the additional knowledge of context and use that you require to make the system work. How do you then interact with a whole disparate variety of health record systems which don't themselves do that? Well, we use a data node connector, which is a piece of software that's developed in conjunction with the EHR vendor that works to a level of maturity of their system. So if it's a system which just has a set of tables and you can't do anything else with it, then you'll work directly with those tables. And you'll pull out of the system to generate a form elsewhere and dump something into a table. That's the most primitive level. If you have a system which supports a functionality of an application programming interface, where you can make calls and queries on the system, where you can pass data into it, where you can use various services offered by that system, then the data node connector will do that functionality and operate again. So the analogy I use with people is a bit like trying to kickstart the rat brain into being a human brain. You need to put a piece on top of it that makes the rat brain continue to do the functionality the rat brain needs to do, whilst having its own higher functionality.
Yeah.
That's what the data point is.
In terms of where we are with the standards, I guess the fundamental problem we've had so far, looking at the last almost 10 years at NHS and the efforts, and not only here in other countries as well, is that electronic health standards are just like the national currency. They require a central body making decisions, just observing the outcomes of those decisions and managing it just like the economy. And due to lack of that, I think the overall, just health IT domain has been influenced primarily by vendors making all kinds of claims. Well, and I can't blame them, as I work for a vendor, I work for Ocean Informatics. But the whole purpose of a commercial entity in an economy free market system is to maximize its profits. So of course, I mean, it's very hard with my salary earning, bread moving, just working guy to go into a room and to say, and I do, and that's why I get into trouble in the company at times, saying that no, I don't think we can do that, I think you should do it that way. So what we suggested to NHS over and over, and finally I think it's picking up a bit, is please take the leading role, and instead of buying expensive systems or just coming up with massive contracts, just put a policy in place around these standards and tell the trusts and the vendors to work around those instead of telling them, here's a bit of money, go and buy something that's nice.
And there are some standards out there that are being held, but it's probably related to the fragmentation with Health and Social Care Act about who holds that, the clinical standards that link in, like you say, with ideally what we want to do as clinicians is record once and it's used many times, but we don't do that.
Well, clinicians have very good reasons to not to do that.
Well, it's not clinicians, just put it in the context of mental health things. We have data sets that clinicians say, why are we collecting this data for?
Oh, that's the whole point is.
So EHRs are built around the ability to say, generate data for the mental health minimum data set.
But EHRs are just like today, they're just like the massive billing systems in the US. Okay, the doctors just push it aside from their minds, and just the inflated state of the US healthcare market and those unbelievable numbers, just $150,000 for a heart attack, just is mostly because of the amount of people they have to keep around those billing processes and all of that, and clinicians just push it away as something that someone's handling so that they can deal with the patient. EHR is pretty much falling into the same category here, because clinicians do not get any benefit out of it, but a pen and paper can just solve the problem in 5 seconds. You tell them to go in front of a computer and enter data, but they see data getting back to them fast. That's one advantage, but it's still not enough to motivate a clinician to care about the quality of data or to record it to the computer, because they're not seeing that much that comes back from that process.
There's still a big difference between primary care and secondary care to doctors actually putting data straight into the computer.
There's an absolute benefit from using the computer in real time in the primary care consultation. That said, I think there would be, from the hospital-based systems as well, a lot of more thought and effort needs to go into behind such.
So how you engage clinicians in that, and I disagree that there isn't a benefit. So if you have mobile kits, and we have 95% of our patients are in the community, when I'm on call, I can access their record, and in terms of that, the impact on quality is what you've got to focus on. So to engage clinicians, you've got to focus on improving quality from a clinical perspective and safety as well.
So my point is we need to do more of that. And that goes back to being able, like someone else was asking me a question when we were chatting, we were saying, why would I not go into something like EAMS? Why would I go into a standards-based system instead of relying on a vendor? And I was trying to explain to him, I mean, just what you should have as a clinician with your in-house team in an institution is wanting something, having a good idea, and having the freedom and the capability to implement that idea without having any reliance on the actual systems provider. You shouldn't have to pay EMIS just to talk about the possibility of having an extension to the system.
So you say that we're making some progress, okay, and the NHS is listening, and you think the NHS should be the body, what part of the NHS is best suited or is currently working towards setting these
Well,
standards?
currently the health and social care information is there,
Yes.
so we have the systems for choice planning and driving this forward, which I think is doing a really good job.
So I'm absolutely delighted to see that part of the NHS, just producing really good work. And the other thing is, the message to give to clinicians to trust around this is to say, this can all be done incrementally. Because what scares everybody, the managers in trust, financial people, doctors, people running the systems, is that dealing with the consequences of a just revolution instead of an evolution, because they don't want to hear an expensive and a chaotic switch from the existing infrastructure to something new, even though it's much better than that. You have to, just the problems I have every time I change a life care system, train the nurses, and then the nurses are going to come up with 1,000 requests saying that it isn't the way we used to do it in the old system. You have to convince them that this is good, and all that. So, incremental adoption of standards, in my opinion, starting with using it as a language to gather requirements. Just that, no software. That is a very important thing to do to increase, just to improve things.
So what then, with the work that's going on, what sort of time scales are we looking at to get to the position that you're talking about? Where we have the standards in place so that everyone is using the
Well, I'll
standards?
give you an example. 5 years ago, when I worked with Transform Proposal, we had really no idea how we would implement a decision support system for diagnosis and control from the vendor. We knew that we would need to have some kind of interaction. And the initial discussions with a particular vendor we worked with were based around them tweaking the system to write a kind of extract, which would then completely hands off, and we would just monitor this and do something completely separate. In the ensuing 3.5 years before we actually got to have to do the work, the Health and Social Care Information Centre pushed the puck along, so that particular vendor was required to produce an API. And we have worked with the API to produce a reasonably functional system which interacts backwards and forwards between the two, triggers our system, and then enables all the data that's been collected in our system to be saved back into the EHR as if it had been entered originally in the EHR extracted record using the independence and things, which is entirely beyond what we would have been capable of 4 years ago. It was entirely because of 2 years of work by HSCIC and GPSOC2.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take that long, because when a contractual framework is put in place, everyone jumps.
Well, and if you again, just a realistic example from the UK would be, again, just the company that's on. We did a project in Leeds, a proof of concept project to take primary care data from EMIS and transform that into OpenAir, so that it can sit within the trust. And then the idea was that the IT teams within the trust would come in and develop any kind of application, mobile applications, web applications, using that particular standard.
Yeah.
And the whole project actually took around 6 to 7 months. And that was for getting medications, allergies, vaccinations, and that kind of thing. So once you put, and this is why I said is the top level involvement and direction is so important. Once you put the contract and the standards into place, it works a lot faster than many of the ad hoc efforts I guess this is one of those parts of the ecosystem where some guidance is required, or else if you leave it to complete private market dynamics, then that competition doesn't necessarily take into its optimum. That's the whole discussion around NHS, isn't it? So I think the time frames is exactly, it's not that long, but it all it's all based on that critical.
I think there's a gap though in awareness, because I think clinicians, as you say, focus on the what. And
Exactly.
I don't think, well, it's the first time I'm hearing about the how arguments, and within my trust I'm somebody who's quite keen to push this forward. So I'm thinking it's just not reaching into clinical consciousness.
It's not.
And I'm engaged with my IT department, so people are reliant to know about this, and I'm not hearing
Well,
it.
there's a difference here. You've got the gap of implementation and understanding between the clinical world and the technical world. You also have a difference between informatics and IT. And what's the problem is a lack of informatics understanding throughout the NHS. Plenty of IT expertise about lack of informatics.
What I suggested today when we're doing the Leeds Care Record project was that we need support and partnership from within the trust. So let's provide workshops, training, because people working in a trust, those IT teams, they have to keep a system running, and these are the systems you can't shut down. You can't say to anybody, "Oh, sorry guys, you'll have an operation some other day with the system collapse." And those people are working in a completely different set of responsibilities from us, people working in the market, just trying to do the cutting edge
But
stuff.
that's the gap, so I turn to them
So-
and I need them to know that.
Exactly, but
the difference
But,
between
I mean, there
IT
are
and
That's
organisations
so
that
there is
join
to
that
close
up,
there. Yeah. That's another part of the policy where you say, okay, let's bring the technical people in the trust at least familiar to the same level with the people working outside of NHS, just working around these technical solutions. Because due to lack of that flow of information, we not only have resistance from just management and cost issues, we also have resistance from internal teams saying, you can't barge in here and set all that stuff up. You just the underlying messages. I don't know what you're doing. I can't let you do that. It's my job.
I think clinicians will have the power within healthcare systems to tackle IT with that if that's how they are, if that's how they feel. If
Exactly.
we knew that was a problem that needed to be
Clinical
tackled.
champions. We need them
we do, though.
to make the effort to go to the IT guy and say, look, there's this thing called HR7, and I've been told it may help me develop better systems. So,
But it's two-way, because you've got to remember a lot of clinicians are focused on the clinical work, and what I did as a Chief Clinical Information Officer was like a bagel fish, really, between the IT world and clinical world. Because you also, you shouldn't say this being psychiatrist, but it was also, you are the Heineken of the informatics team, because you reach parts of the organisation that other members can't reach, and we talk a different language. I got into rooms that members of either IT infrastructure or information teams had phones slammed down on them, doors shut in the face. As soon as you have a doctor or nurse badge on, it changes it. So that's being supported, and out of 60 mental health trusts, 30 have a CCIO or equivalent. But I think there's two gaps that I think we pointed out. One between implementation and clinicians, which is really our strength, but the other bit is between IT and information
absolutely.
as well. And maybe that hasn't been cracked, and that's the bit I think really needs to be joined up.
No, absolutely.
And it's making the systems then digitally.
Because they are completely different
Yeah.
cultures. For the IT culture, it's about tweaking delivered systems and working with maybe database languages, SQL, that kind of thing, Oracle stuff, to deliver the requirements of users within the framework of what's been delivered as a system. And so higher levels of IT are more interested in procurement and contracts than they are on the side. Whereas the informatics approach is about focus on the knowledge, the data, its meaning, its understanding, and what that's about. Some of which may be delivered through that IT infrastructure, but is actually withheld. It's probably a proprietary group of people involved in selling the system. It doesn't have the matching expertise necessarily in the NHS. It's improving slowly, but it really needs to.
So I think the discussion has kind of illustrated where the issue is, the difference between what the clinicians are thinking about and what you guys are thinking about, and that's reflected in the way we've set up this thing. Two clinicians have set up this focus group to talk about the data, when really the issue is, as you pointed out, different from that. But I'm glad that we've got to where we've got to, because the key you know, the key aim of this whole project that we're doing is to raise awareness of these issues among clinicians, among policymakers. So the questions we want to finish with is, what do we need to do to make this happen at the different levels? So first of all, what can we do within this project to raise awareness of this among clinicians, to get to the points that Derek was making? And then secondly, what do we need to ask the policymakers to do to make this happen? So first of all, what can we do just within the project? What can we put on the website? What information can we make available?
Define the problem. Because people don't see the problem. What we just uncovered here in a very brief amount of time, just show people that there are some better options out there which may improve things for everybody, but the lines of communication and skill gap, not anybody's fault. It's a structural problem. Is just stopping those solutions, those options reaching hospitals, and it's incredibly easy to deal with this problem because I guess everybody working on the technical side of this approach at least is more than happy to go and talk and explain and just lay out the suggested road. But since nobody recognizes the problem and we don't have those mediators, enough of those, we will not make progress.
Showing case studies of what's worked successfully, what barriers they've had to overcome to.
With UNIS is a very good example of what's been an incredibly successful system for in many respects. Successful because certainly when in its previous guises it was very, very flexible for practices. They create all sorts of different data structures and data analysts to represent what practice wanted to do and reflect. Completely outside any structures by creating local codes, even local to the practice. Such that if you try and pull data from it in this legacy systems, but often about 40% of the data is unmappable to anything. So that's a fundamental issue. It's allowed lots of nice things, but in a completely flawed way. And the other issue that I have from a diagnosis point of view is it lumps why a patient has come with what the clinician thinks is wrong with them. This goes back 40 years ago to Lawrence Weed and SOAP and structured oriented medical records. Those two separate concepts are put together by UNIS as problem. So actually, it's fundamental.
So that's how you code in English.
Yeah, it's a problem. Now, what does the problem mean? It's totally inconsistent.
The other thing I've noticed is I've got a conflict of interest. My wife's a GP, so I had a look at the system. And we were an EHR used by 4,000 clinical staff. She was talking about the difference in implementation scale, and we are in a super tanker to change that around in our trust because of the bureaucracy that's associated with large organisations. And she's in a little speedboat on a Thursday afternoon. They can sit down and decide what goes into a template, and they can change it by Friday morning. And that point that you made, then what happens is 40% of the data is meaningless.
So what you end up with is 6,000 little speedboats going around
And they all think they're doing it well. So it then comes back to the point again, I think, is about, for me, what can we do? It's something about, I suppose, awareness of what a learning healthcare system is, explaining that, and then the component parts to it. For me, though, there is something essential about clinical standards and having some uniform agreement about what would be the minimum, whether it's in a GP, an EHR, secondary care, or mental health. What would be, and there are guidance out there. The Professional Record Standards Board has that. So that would be that would be my suggestion as to what the website should do. How do you influence it? I think we previously had a chat about the National Information Board being set up, which does have the great and the good, if you want to put it that way, in charge of some of those work streams. And HSCIC is going to have a lot to do with it. Whether or not that remains in place in 6 months' time remains to be seen.
That's the other thing.
But I think there's enough momentum with it that maybe it will. So it's maybe about going to National Information Board and start saying, you know, these are suggestions that are coming out from this group. Where would it be best to have those discussions? And I'm particularly interested in that gap between IT and informatics, per se, and how do you close that gap between data and knowledge and then tweaking existing systems and contractual discussions rather than why are we using it?
I mean, it would work for just for all SMEs, which is the focus of most of the European economy. It would be absolutely fine to have people within the trust developing the solutions as a business model and SMEs supporting them with the technology. And in all honesty, I wouldn't like to develop a clinical system or a clinical application, not because of the technical challenge, because of the intensive know-how aspect of it. I would love a team to exist in a hospital working with the clinicians, which actually creates some of the most successful clinical systems that we have today, including Vista in the USA. And I would just provide, as a technical person, just solutions about scalability, performance, just platform features.
Vista's open source, though, isn't it?
Well, it is, but then there's, that would be a long conversation.
Yeah.
It is, so pushing talent and capability into the trusts is, in my opinion, the solution. Not trying to capitalize on that as companies and trying to squeeze money out of the trust because, just they can't do anything. So we actually want to change. This is what Ingram and I have worked a lot on with the UCL hat. We wanted to change the business model. Just not grabbing corners and just twisting arms, but competing on providing skills.
Yeah.
That's the information gap. Trusts need to know that needs to be pushed in. I don't think they would be unreceptive to it, and even in financially constrained times, there is money to innovate, and I think trusts would be receptive. It's getting that message to them. I don't think they realise I think it's a really critical time to get the message to people, because I think there are hundreds of people asking what questions, and they're not thinking underneath it.
But then, the why question is they don't even consider it.
So
Because it's not in their training, it's just not how they think.
I realise
We can't expect them, it's got to be pushed out to them.
I've taken 6 minutes of your coffee time, but it was very valuable.
Can I just
Sorry,
ask a
yes.
question? Can we also think about social care data? Because I think some systems bring in social care data and some don't bring primary care. And there's an
And
enormous,
that's even worse.
big problem around, people's lack of training in terms of coding and what they're supposed to do with it, brilliant fast maths tests.
Yeah.
But there's going to be more need, I think, to do more social care data in
Absolutely,
combination.
spot on. For example, I joined a hackathon a few months back, and you give them 48 hours, and that was about healthcare. So I had a lot of fun there, and just chatting to people about an idea. For example, I was looking at a data set that was about head injuries, people arriving at A&E with serious head injuries, and everybody was thinking about just let's predict if they're going to die or survive and that kind of thing. That is within the trust, but someone came up with the idea that why don't we look at their just their state in 6 months down the line, and if they're going to need home care, build a system that notifies the relevant authorities so that they can get ready. So imagine social care knowing about an upcoming task 6 months ahead, because some patient who happens to live around that neighborhood has been just committed into A&E with a head injury, which means they'll need support. So that kind of connectivity is actually, it has the potential to improve the overall experience enormously.
Okay, that's been really useful. What I propose to do is to write this up eventually, and then if it's okay with you guys, I will circulate it and maybe iterate it around the group, because I won't have all the understanding in myself to write this up as it should be, and I think it was really important. So if everybody was happy, I'll circulate it and we can get it right down. Okay, well, thanks a lot.